Okay, it's 1:02. We will begin our meeting, our regular Board of Trustees meeting, March 26th. And we will start agenda item number 1, the Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation. And this will be led by Board Vice President Judith Dykes Hoffman.
Okay. And I believe we're going to put something on the screen there. There we go. If you'll follow along with me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. And if you would please join me in this moment in the way that you are most comfortable as I pray out loud. To the one most powerful, in this historic time, we turn to you at the start of this meeting for a collective calming breath and a few seconds of silence so we may calm our hearts and focus our minds on the work ahead. We ask for protection for those working in the healthcare system as they combat this virus, as well as all illnesses. We ask for protection for others in the front lines of dealing with this invisible irritant, and especially ask for protection and comfort for all in the NBU family. We praise for wise leadership and decision-making, which includes us today. Finally, let us not forget to focus on the many, many blessings of this place that we call home. Amen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that takes us to item B, public comment, and I'm going to read some information to you, and then I'm going to turn it over to Ian for some brief words. Okay, Governor Abbott has temporarily suspended certain requirements of the Open Meetings Act in response to the COVID-19 public health disaster. Specifically, government entities are permitted to meet by telephone or video conference, provided the meetings are audible to members of the public and allow for two-way communication. The suspension of certain requirements of the Open Meetings Act is intended to reduce in-person meetings and the spread of COVID-19 while maintaining government transparency. Today, the NBU Board of Trustees meeting will be held by video conference. The board welcomes and encourages the public to participate during the public comment period. Members of the public will be allowed to participate during the public comment period to raise any matters related to NBU that is not on the agenda, as well as discuss any item that is on the agenda. We ask that all participants state their name and address and limit their comments to no more than 5 minutes. Due to the electronic limitations of this meeting, citizens will only be allowed to make comments during the public comment period of the meeting. For items not posted on the agenda, the NBU Board of Trustees may not deliberate on any item that is raised by a citizen that is not posted on the agenda. For such an item, NBU may 1, make a statement of fact regarding the item, 2, make a statement concerning the policy regarding the item, or 3, propose that the item be placed on a future agenda. A recording of the video conference will be made available to the public on NBU's website after the meeting. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Ian and for his comments before we move to item C. And I guess if we've got anybody that has dialed in from the public comment, this would be their opportunity to make a statement. Hearing none, Mr. Taylor, you have the floor.
Ian, you're on mute.
I have to do that before I learn, right? All right, so this is the first time we've done a meeting through this forum before. I'd like to do a roll call in case there are some people who are calling in and they don't have video access, just so they can associate a name with with a voice. And so as the board secretary, I'll run through the board members first, and then afterwards ask each executive to say their name and title, just so folks can have a connection there. So I'll start with Mayor Castile.
I am here, present.
Thank you. Mr. Gray?
I'm here, thank you.
Mr. Campos?
I'm present, thank you.
Dr. Hoffman?
Here.
And Mr. Harrell?
Yes, sir. Here.
Okay. Connie, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, hi, this is Connie Locke. I'm General Counsel and Chief Ethics Officer.
Ryan?
Ryan Kelso, Chief Operations Officer.
Dawn? You there, Dawn? Can't hear you. Oh no, that's an exasperated look on your face. Oh, looks like we're gonna get some IT help for you. Let me skip to Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin Britton, Chief Technology and Security Officer. And I have Dawn here with me as well. Hi, Dawn Trigger, Chief Financial Officer.
All right, great adjustment. Let's see, Melissa.
Hi, Melissa Krause, Executive Director, Communications, External Affairs.
Janice.
Director of Strategy and People.
And David.
Hi, I'm David Hubbard. I'm the Director of Energy Markets and Customer Solutions.
All right, great. Not only a roll call, but a mic check. I'm glad we went through that. And Mr. Harrell, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, that takes us to item C, items from the chair. Does anybody have anything?
I have none.
I would own. Okay. Mr. Couples?
No, sir, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna make a quick statement, and I'm sure it will be echoed by anybody on this call. We greatly appreciate all the work and hustle and scramble that has taken place, I guess, behind the curtain at NBU over these last couple of weeks, more specifically these last few days. So hats off to the group. No surprise, we'll continue to advance the ball. So anyway, appreciate everybody's hard work and anxiety that you have endured throughout all this. Okay, sir.
I was just going to comment on that I appreciate all of the policies that went into force to take care of our employees, as well as to make sure that we have our first responders on duty. I think everybody's working really well. Thank you.
Okay, that'll take us to item D, items from staff. Number one, CEO's update, which I'm sure you have something for us, Ian.
I do. First of all, let me tell you, I appreciate y'all's kind remarks and support throughout this. It means a lot to all of us to know that the board is behind us with all the work that we're doing here. And it has been quite a month. It's been a month like none other than I've had before. In a matter of days, we went from managing the critical infrastructure for the second fastest growing city in the country to managing through a pandemic. And it was as if we went from full throttle down the Autobahn to switching vehicles and driving off road. And I can't overstate what a sudden and dramatic change this has been to our business. Our initial challenge wasn't reprioritizing our work. It was creating a new slate of priorities and evolving those priorities as the situation evolved. And as you know, it's happening day to day. But once we made that paradigm shift, the challenge has now become managing in an environment with no precedent or clear picture of what the next day holds. We don't know how long this will last and what things will look like when it's over. So what do we do about that? We do what we do best. And at NBU, it's making sure our community's essential services and critical infrastructure continue to work. And we're very good at that. So I assure you and anybody that's watching or listening that NBU will be a source of stability and normalcy for our community in such a chaotic time. We were well prepared for this event. In late February, we pulled out our pandemic response plan and got to work. And at a high level, just to summarize what we've been doing since then, our response is really focused around 5 priorities. And the first is protecting our people and ensuring continuity of service. I won't go into the detail. I've kept the board updated on a lot of this, but just to summarize, we acted early to implement a number of measures, including mandatory employee quarantine, enhanced office cleaning protocols. We closed our offices to non-employees. We've developed staggered start time for crews so we don't have an entire operational group ever getting together at once. We split our control center. So normally we have folks together in one room, and we actually split them up. So half of the control center is actually in the control center, and we set up a temporary one, a backup one that the other half the employees go to, and they wipe it all down with bleach at shift change, and we've restricted access to the control center. It's very, very important that we maintain continuity there. And of course, monitoring our supply chain and deliveries and making sure that we get materials when we need them. The second focus has been on coordinating with our community and with our industries in which we operate. We've had a daily call with leadership from the city, chamber, county, the school districts, and others. And I can't say enough about how much I appreciate everybody from those organizations and how the community has really come together to attack this together. Melissa has pulled together a group of public information professionals from similar types of agencies across the community, as well as staying plugged in with our neighboring utilities to make sure that we're all going forward together in as much alignment as we can. We've leveraged what we call the Public Power Regionalism Team, which is comprised of CPS Energy, NBU, Austin Energy, and LCRA. We've had conference calls. We've been sharing best practices and strategies and such. And of course, we're staying abreast of all the many briefings that are coming out routinely from DHS, APPA, TPPA, ERCOT, CDC. It's the whole alphabet soup of folks involved in this. And then early on, we had a COVID-19 tabletop with the Comal County Public Health Group, which was really great that they were able to include us in their plans and we could be a part of that. The third area we've been focusing is working from home. And it took a tremendous effort to create an environment where our employees can work from home. And if I were to summarize that, we really attacked that on 2 fronts. The first was building the IT systems to even make it feasible. And I cannot begin to tell you how much work went into doing that. Everything from licensing, making sure that enough people had access to VPN and GoToMeetings, which is what we're on now, to hardware. Our team basically snatched up every mobile computing device in the country that wasn't nailed down somewhere. And we went as far as to rent laptops to get mobile computing in the hands of our employees who are able to work from home. We doubled our bandwidth and just about everything in between in order to pull this off. And then the second piece of working from home was really redesigning our business processes. And that's something that's going to continue to happen over time. And that may seem small, but it goes from everything from how in the world do we get interoffice mail, the stuff that we used to send on through interoffice mail, all the way up to how do we transition to digital signatures for contracts. And again, just everything in between, the whole spectrum of making sure that business can continue to operate while people are working remotely. The fourth area of focus is NBU's financial health. Our revenue, as you might imagine, is at risk in the near term from businesses shutting down, and also in the long term due to a potential recession. We've already had customers advise us that they can't pay their utility bill. And this all goes back to that sudden paradigm shift that I mentioned earlier. As the second fastest growing city in the country for 3 of the last 4 years, we have been implementing an historic capital plan at an aggressive pace to catch up to the demands growth has put on our systems. So now that we have gone through this very quick pivot, even if the growth rate drops to 0, we must continue much of the work that we've been engaged in if we're going to bring our water and wastewater systems into compliance and ensure resiliency. So we're developing dashboards that will give us the situational awareness we need for making decisions in this financially uncertain time. We're also developing worst case but plausible scenarios to model the impacts to revenue to help us understand the degree to which we must reduce our budgets if we want to keep the same rate plan that we have designed and proposed. As you know, we're a highly regulated service provider whose rates are determined by the cost of providing those services. In other words, if we were to cut from our already lean budget, we'll have a corresponding impact to the level of service and or reliability. And this, as you might imagine, is where those difficult decisions will have to be made. And ultimately, it'll be a balance between rates and levels of service. We've proved over the years that we at NBU are always looking for looking under every couch cushion for savings and non-traditional revenue, and we're going to continue that at a renewed urgency to help us get through this. In the near term, we're making hard decisions about what work we should continue with or delay until we know the long-term impact. So for example, we've already suspended our conservation rebates for the year, and we're also considering delaying the start of design for our new office facility. Those are just two things that we've contemplated. There are many others. And I don't want to get into too detail because Dawn is going to pick this up in just a moment to really give you a better explanation of it all. And the fifth and final area of focus is related to employee morale. We have a workforce that's experiencing a wide range of emotions, just like the rest of our country and certainly our community. But common to many folks is some level of anxiety. And this has truly become a significant emotional event in people's lives. From the disruption of daily life, we also have spouses that have been sent home from their jobs without pay. We have employees trying to do their jobs while also having to homeschool their kids. We got folks who are concerned for their loved ones that they're caring for. And it's my desire that NBU will be a calm, reassuring presence for all of our employees. I want to point out our HR team who is fully engaged to roll out programs to help our employees. We acted early to relax the requirements for cashing in paid leave. That'll help some of those folks whose spouse or significant other is now without an income. We're giving a waiver for wellness credits and also allowing benefit use for employees that are within their first 90 days of employment. Those folks are typically restricted from taking advantage of some of those benefits, but we've opened it up to them. We're also reinforcing our EAP programs, employee assistance programs, and also our employee leave sharing bank, two things that we've always had that we really want to make sure folks have access to. We're providing content to help our employees know how to manage in a work from home environment. We need help with that for both our managers and those folks who are being managed to make sure that we're all connected. And it is important that we stay connected and that we maintain our culture and our focus on our employees throughout this. So we're doing things around that as well. We implemented a chat function just recently that allows folks to chat, kind of what we used to call an instant message, I think we might refer to it as, on the computer. And we're close to rolling out a social media platform that employees can use to stay in touch, so we don't always have to be on Facebook and mix that personal with business, but it will be a chance for folks who are not seeing each other all the time to go through a news feed and check in with folks and give updates on how they're doing. Last Friday, I had a live stream with the entire company. It was a lot of fun. I had an opportunity to talk about the importance of the work that everybody's doing. It's an opportunity to acknowledge the range of emotions that everybody are experiencing right now. Also got to explain the many decisions we've made, because there have been a lot of them. They've happened very quickly, and also explain why and the work that we've been doing, and also gave them some thoughts that I had on the path forward. And we hope to do a whole lot more around that point. So I'll close by telling you this. It is a joy to see our team come together and do their best and support each other through a difficult time. And I just want you to know that I am proud of everybody that has NBU on their badge and grateful to be a part of the team. Everybody's put a tremendous amount into this. But I will tell you too that for people who choose to dedicate their time, energy, and talents to a career in public service, these are the moments that we all live for. And it is when we're at our best. It's when these hurricanes and floods and pandemics come that so does the stress and loss of sleep and all those other unpleasant disruptions. But we all know that going into it. And ultimately, the reward comes later when we're able to look back over our careers and take satisfaction knowing that we made the choice to spend our time each day making a difference in the lives of others. And that is what this is all about. Last night I was about to go to bed, and I was just catching up with my son, my 6th grader, on how his day went. And he's an NBISD, so you might know they all have iPads. So the district has these kids working, and I love it. They got stuff to do all the time. And he was telling me how he couldn't just wait to get back to school, which who'd have thought he'd ever say that. And he was basically just expressing these feelings of stress and being overwhelmed because he has so many responsibilities put on him. And he's 12, man. He doesn't know how to manage that kind of stuff. It's a good day if he shows up and his teeth are brushed and he's wearing clean clothes, Everything's just planned for him. And I was telling him, when this is over, he will have learned hopefully the basics of time management and personal management and those kinds of things, something that wasn't clear to me when I was about 20 years old. And the whole point being that when you're uncomfortable, you're growing. And I think all of us here at NBU and certainly in our country are uncomfortable right now. And that's okay. That's okay, because I pray that the discomfort that we're all feeling will help us grow in a way that we place a higher value on being kind and patient and humble and focused on loving the folks that are around us each day. And I also say too, when people endure these kind of situations together, I think, in my experience, it really creates a special bond between folks that lasts forever. So to me, I get excited when I think about that, and makes me care that much more for the people that I'm around every day. And I guess I'll just close with saying this team that I have this privilege to lead is doing critical work in an important time. It's an unprecedented time. And I want you folks on the board to know that you can be proud of all the work that they're doing. That's all I have. I'll turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. Well, there's no doubt about anything you just said, and I think I can speak for the board. Anybody else can make their own comment, but we fully support what you're doing and what every employee at NBU is doing right now. So
I would like to that I really appreciate your leadership, Ian. I think we've got the right person doing it now. Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, that takes us to item 2, financial update and report.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep.
It's Dawn Triever, Chief Financial Officer, and I'm going to start out the financial report. Catherine will be giving it to you as normal, but I wanted to start out, first of all, just talking a little bit about some of the financial measures we've put into place. And can somebody, Rocio, can you bring that presentation up, the financial measures presentation?
Yes, ma'am. One moment.
So while she's bringing that up, I just want to thank, as Ian said, the whole team has come together and really done some fabulous things in a trying time. And especially I want to thank my financial team. They, at the drop of a hat, have turned around information to me while still trying to do their regular jobs, and including Dwayne Westerman, our financial advisor, who has been there through all our questions and market uncertainty, and all the consultants that we have that have helped us through this time. So next slide, please. Okay, so as you know, we're in a very unique and uncertain time. We don't know what the full impact of the coronavirus will be. What we do know is that it's going to have a detrimental effect on our local economy. We know our customers will be affected, and it will put a strain on our cash flow. So we've taken some initiatives to further strengthen our cash position and maintain flexibility with our customers amid the health crisis. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to go through a few of the measures that we've been working on so far. These aren't all of them, but these are probably the highlights of them. So one of the first things we did was set up a project code to capture costs related to COVID-19. That way, NBU can recover any eligible expenditures that are allowed to them. We're also modifying existing policies in order to utilize our cash on hand in the most efficient manner possible. We've been running multiple scenarios to estimate the impact on revenue. And of course, a lot of that will depend on the duration of the shelter-in-place order and other things of that nature. We've been limiting O&M and capital expenditures to only critical expenditures through the end of the fiscal year to offset some of these impacts. We are tracking our liquidity daily. We're monitoring deposits in order to estimate the impact of customers not being able to pay. Next slide, please. We've developed estimates for the impact of suspending penalties and suspending cutoffs for non-payment. We're monitoring the short-term and long-term markets daily through conference calls with financial institutions. We've been contacting our key customers to evaluate the impact on their business. We've revised our load forecast and power purchases to account for the slowdown in business. And we've added flexibility in our debt issuance to access the market most accommodating for NBU. And then the one last thing, as we move into our budget cycle, which we're in right now, we will be running scenarios we'll have a little bit more knowledge of what the duration of this is, and we'll be running budget scenarios to accommodate for the duration.
Okay, is that your report, Dawn?
That's my report, and now Catherine will give the financial.
Great.
Okay, one quick moment, Catherine.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and do you see the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Catherine Dubose, the accounting manager, and I'm going to give the update of the February 2020 financials. So that is 7 months into fiscal year 2020. Looking at our financial ratios, we are very healthy. As of February, all of our financial ratios from January through February to February have improved. So our days cash on hand previously was 101, it increased to, and our days liquidity on hand was 162, and now is 179. So some significant improvements on that. And then here's how we've trended so far for days cash on hand. We started out in August at 53, and we're currently at 114. We are forecasting to be at 134, and our budget is 137. Operating revenue for electric, we are 18.3 million greater than prior year and 5.9 million greater than budget. For water, we are 3.6 million greater than prior year and 1.1 million greater than budget. Wastewater is 1 million greater than prior year and 500,000 less than budget. And looking at our gross margin, electric is 5.9 million greater than prior year, 5 million greater than prior year, and 900,000 less than budget. And that's because for electric revenue, we are 5.9 million greater than budget, and purchase power is 6.8 million greater than budget. For water, we're 2 million greater than prior year and 2.8 greater than budget. And that's because our water revenue is 1 million greater than budget, and our purchase water is 1.8 million less than budget. Operating expenses across the board, we are greater than our prior year amount and significantly less than our budget amount. And given the situation that we're currently in, that is great. So for combined O&M, we are 2.4 million greater than prior year and 6.3 million less than budget. In our impact fees, we are continuing to see an increase, even though maybe for the remainder of the year, we might not be seeing all these increases. But as of February, we are 5 million greater than budget and 6.2 million greater than prior year. And for our change in net position after contributions, we are currently at 12.9 million greater than budget. And that's because operating revenue is 6.5 million greater than budget. Operating expenses are 1.9 million less than budget. Our non-operating items are 1.4 million favorable, and capital contributions are 3.1 million greater than budget. And just looking at our capital expenditures, the blue is the annual budget amount that we have, and then the orange is how we track for fiscal year to date. That's about it. Any questions?
No, ma'am. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, that takes us to item E, consent items for action. Number 1, approve minutes of the NBU regular board meeting of February 27, 2020. Number 2, approve the change order log from January 15, 2020 through February 15, 2020. Number 3, approve the reports for water and electric engineering contracts from August 1, 2019 through February 15, 2020. Number 4, authorize CEO to negotiate and execute a professional services agreement with Jones & Carter, Inc. for the Sam C. McKenzie Water Reclamation Facility Expansion Preliminary Engineering Report Project. Number 5, authorize CEO to negotiate and execute a professional services agreement with Arcadius US, Inc. for the Edwards Aquifer Well Project. Number 6, authorize CEO to negotiate and execute a professional services agreement with Dannenbaum Engineering Company, LLC for the design of the Sanger Hall Lift Station Expansion in Forest, Maine project. Number 7, authorize CEO to negotiate and execute a professional services agreement with Drop Tine Utility Construction, LLC for manhole rehabilitation. Number 8, authorize CEO to negotiate and execute a lease agreement with the City of New Braunfels for the temporary relocation of Fire Station Number 3 to the headwaters at the Comal. Number 9, ratify CEO's execution of a professional services agreement with MindGrub Technologies, LLC for the purchase of website content development, migration, and post-launch support in the amount of $40,790. Number 10, authorize CEO to negotiate and execute a professional services agreement with Shermco Industries, Inc. for the relay maintenance and acceptance testing of electric relays and substation equipment. I will entertain a motion to accept these consent items.
I make a motion that we approve all as read.
I'll second.
A second.
Okay, I have a first and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Any further discussion? Motion passes. Okay,
do we want to do a roll call of who's approved the agenda or the consent items, just so that we
sure.
do that for
yeah, great idea. Okay, I guess for here forward, if any action item that requires a vote, if you will just state your name, and then that will allow Connie or CEO to make those notes.
And on that last vote, this is Bob Gray. I made the motion to approve.
I made the second, Nacho Campbell.
And all those in favor, I'm assuming Ms. Hoffman.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we do this since I'm the secretary? How about I read them off? So we have the motion in the second. Dr. Hoffman?
Aye.
Mayor Castillo?
Aye.
Mr. Harrell?
Yes, sir. Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, that was certainly more efficient. Thanks, Ian. Okay, item F, action items. Number 1, discuss, consider approval and authorization to select the underwriting team for the Series 2020 bond issuance.
Mr. Harrell, this is Dawn Shriver, the Chief Financial Officer, and we're going to be taking action items 1 and 2 together.
Okay.
So it will be.
I'll go ahead and read 2 then.
Okay.
Okay. So item 2, we'll wrap 1 and 2 together as mentioned. So we will discuss, consider adoption of resolution number 2020-135 relating to the issuance of the City of New Braunfels Texas Utility System Revenue Refunding and Improvement Bond Series 2020 and resolving other matters related thereto.
And then Dwayne Westerman and I will be doing this presentation together. So Rocio, if you could load up the presentation. Rocio will be changing the slides for us, Dwayne.
Okay.
Next slide.
Hey, I believe I get to start off. This is Dwayne Westerman with Samco Capital Markets. We're financial advisors to New Braunfels Utilities. As Mr. Taylor and others have already well described, COVID-19 has certainly impacted all areas of our lives, including the financial markets. As we've all seen in news stories and read, the stock market has been very volatile, going down as much as 30% before starting to climb back the last several days. Treasury yields have reached historic lows, with the 1 and 3 month treasuries at certain times even hitting negative yields. Our municipal market has probably been more affected than either of those, having the tax exempt yield curve move up as much as 150 basis points or more over the last 2 weeks before starting to improve the last 3 days as well. This has been as a result of many factors, between mutual funds and investors from other markets needing liquidity and selling mutual bond fund portfolios to gather that liquidity to help fund or do other projects that may be involved. The short-term market for municipals was particularly affected, with overnight and short-term rates going up to as high as 8% over the last week, but those have improved as well. The expectations are the market will continue to settle out. We've seen that settle out happen most of this week so far, with the municipal rates even coming back a half to 2/3 of some of that movement they've already had. So it's a continuing to be a volatile day-to-day situation, but I think it appears that some calm is starting to surface in the markets as well.
Okay, so as Dwayne said, the coronavirus is having an impact on NBU and its customers locally. The duration of the situation will dictate how severe the impacts are. The short-term and long-term markets have been very volatile. We've been monitoring the market daily, and we do have the flexibility built into our issuance to push it out as far as October if needed. That would affect some of the capital project funding if we had to push it out that far. Next slide, please. You've seen this chart before. This shows the debt funding requirement for each year of our 5-year operating plan, for a total of $386 million that we'd be issuing in debt over those 5 years. So far for fiscal year 20, we've used $75 million of commercial paper to fund the fiscal year 20 capital, and we're issuing long-term debt to refill that commercial paper program. Next slide, please.
This particular issue is going to be a combination, or is planned to be a combination of the refunding of the commercial paper notes that are outstanding right now. That we expect that to be $74.75 million. We will take that out of the short-term market and finance it with long-term traditional bonds. And then we also anticipate and plan on refunding the NBU Series 2012 bond issue, which is has callable principal outstanding in the amount of $18,965,000. So the combination of those two amounts that we need is over $93 million. With the markets where they are, their pricing in the bond markets include quite a bit of premium, which means we actually issue a smaller amount of principal. So one of our preliminary runs had the combined principal on a run at about 81 million, but that will fluctuate, and with market changes, it may be a little bit higher.
All right, and as you know, we entered the commercial paper market last year. I just wanted to revisit some of the benefits of commercial paper. Typically, it offers an interest rate savings when comparing the short-term rates to the long-term rates. It provides additional flexibility by allowing drawdowns to match the construction needs. The unused capacity is noted by rating agencies and is captured in our days liquidity ratio. And commercial paper can be an ongoing tool for NBU to use. Next slide, please. And we had shown this commercial paper flow chart last year. I dropped in some new dates just so you could kind of see where we were on the flow chart. So starting on the upper left, you can see that in March of last year, City Council, in fact, it was a year and a day ago, City Council approved a $75 million commercial paper program for New Braunfels Utilities. In May of 2019, we authorized $75 million in commercial paper capacity. Today, we're seeking board approval to refund the outstanding commercial paper with traditional long-term debt. And we're planning to go to City Council April 13th for approval. And then we should have access to the funds in May. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Rocio, next slide, please. It's bound to happen. Too many slides.
It's just moving slow. The network is a little bit slow right now.
Okay.
While we're waiting for that to come up, I can start the discussion. It is involving the Series 2012 refunding. As we mentioned, it includes $18,965,000 of outstanding callable bonds from the Series 2012 issue. These bonds are callable on July 1 of 2020, and we are allowed under law, under tax regulations, to refund those on a tax-exempt basis within 90 days of that call date. So that puts us into May. And then the coupon interest rates on the bonds that we're refunding range from 3 to 4%. And the potential savings that we have calculated over various runs over the last 6 months have ranged from 1.2 million to over 2.35 million in gross savings over the life of the issue. And those savings are all net of associated costs of issuance. The net present value savings on those runs has ranged from a little over 4% to as much as 10% in each of those runs. And our parameters that you'll see in a bit on this new issue include that we achieve at least a minimum of 3% net present value savings. And the debt service savings that we would achieve would allow NBU more capacity for the needed future capital improvements. Did I go on to
Do you want to discuss the parameters? Yes, please.
Okay. So for this bond issuance that we're asking your approval to move forward with is recommending a parameter order approval by the City Council of New Braunfels, which has successfully been utilized in past financings. The parameters that we would ask for include a par amount not to exceed $93,715,000. And that's the combination of the $74,750,000 in commercial paper plus the $18,000,009 of the refunding of the Series 2012. We would ask the parameter include a maximum interest rate not to exceed 6% and a maximum maturity of July 1, 2050, which is 30 years out from now. These parameter orders are very important, and in times like these, it really brings to light how important it can be to provide the flexibility to NBU in pricing the issue and deciding how and when to move forward. And with the markets as volatile as we've seen the last 2 weeks, that can be very precious other than having to time the issue with a City Council and a New Braunfels Utility Board meeting. I'll go on to the underwriting that we are recommending to the board, and we're suggesting the firm of Piper Sandler Company to be the lead manager on the underwriting, and the co-managers to include Frost Bank, Hilltop Securities, and JP Morgan. Piper Sandler is a firm that is currently the commercial paper dealer for the commercial paper program of NBU. They have done an outstanding job and have been excellent in their communication and explanations with us as we go through this. We've spoken to them at least every other day or almost daily regarding what's been going on the last 2 weeks in the commercial paper market. And we feel that connection between the two will help us and help them lead this transaction to be very efficient and effective for New Braunfels Utilities. Frost Bank obviously has a local representation and is a good regional, strong bank firm as a co-manager. Hilltop Securities has been involved in previous issues with New Braunfels Utilities and has done a good job, and we wanted to include them, as well as JP Morgan, who has actually provides the liquidity facility for the commercial paper program and has also been in constant communication, making sure that our needs are being addressed.
And then the last slide we have is the bond issuance timeline. So today we're seeking approval from the board to move forward with the issuance. We have rating agency meetings on Monday and Tuesday, the 30th and 31st. Those will be via teleconference. We have them with S&P on Monday and Moody's on Tuesday. April 13th, we're planning to go to City Council for approval of the bond issuance with the parameter authorization. And then, as I mentioned, the funds should be available in early May. Are there any questions?
No, ma'am.
So this is the end of the presentation. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties, but I think that Dwayne and Dawn did a good job explaining where we are with this, and take any questions that you have on it right now.
Do we need to allow the opportunity for public comment before we move forward with a motion or a series of motions?
Well, public comment would have had to be addressed during the public comments segment only, based upon the prelude to the meeting. So I guess what we can do, unless any one board member has a direct question right now, I would entertain a motion to approve item 1 and 2 of the action items.
And John, this is Bob Gray. I'll make a motion that we approve item 1 and item 2 of the action items as discussed.
And that would include the parameters that Dwayne suggested?
Yes.
Okay. I second that motion.
Okay, let me read off let me take the roll here. Mayor Castile?
Aye.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry. You gotta call for a vote. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself.
Yeah.
John, go ahead.
That's okay.
I apologize.
That's okay. Okay, we've got a first and a second motion. All those in favor will say aye, but before we go to that step, we'll let Ian take roll and accept those ayes, and then we'll address the nays and follow that order.
All right, so we have the motion and the second, so that leaves Mayor Castile?
Aye.
Mr. Campos?
Aye.
Mr. Harrell?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor, we have indicated ayes. Does not appear to be any nays, so I'm going to declare that the motion has passed. That takes us to item 3, discuss and consider ratifying previous purchases of electric meters and water communication modules for both new inventory materials and existing customer changeouts in the amount of $1,918,959.65. Ratify past purchases of software as a service fees in the amount of $2,014,550 for the total ratification amount of $3,933,509.65. Authorize the CEO to negotiate and execute a contract with the Nixter Inc. for electric meters and water communication modules inventory materials, and authorize the CEO to negotiate and execute a contract with the Nixter for software as a service fees.
Okay. So let me ask, Robin, do you know if we'll have the presentation, or should we go ahead without slides? You know the status?
Your mute's on, Robin.
My computer, this is Carlos.
Oh.
I gave Carlos the permission to be the presenter, so he should be able to show the slides from his computer.
Excellent. Okay, let me set this up for Carlos. So this item, if you've read the write-up, I think you'll recognize this item lies at the intersection of 2 key strategic focuses that I've shared with you this fiscal year. The first is resourcing our purchasing function so we can meet the needs of what has been the second fastest growing city in the country. You read in the write-up that this is an item where the lack of resources have kept us from best practice contract management. I've also shared with you recently our risk analysis for our IT systems, and in particular, the portion related to how we manage software and software contracts and licensing. So this is an item that just so happens to involve those two key business processes, specifically procuring and managing software, for which we had identified a need for investing resources to allow them to meet the needs of our fast-growing utility. So these are growing pains, and I hope that what you've read explains them well. We took a lot of work in putting that write-up together, and I think where we landed, at least for me, explains it pretty well. What Carlos is going to do is fill in hopefully any gaps that you might have and provide some additional clarity. And please, if you have any questions, I'd very much enjoy the conversation. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Carlos.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Carlos Salas. I'm the Systems Control Manager. I'm just trying to see if I'm already the presenter or not.
Carlos, I made you the presenter, so you should be able to share your screen.
Getting ready. Just give me 1 second. Here.
Carlos, do you have the screen sharing option available at the bottom of your screen there?
Yes, I can see it now. I mean, can you see the presentation now?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk a little bit about the action item number 3, explain you the different components that are related to our automated metering infrastructure system project. And that way we can understand better the 3 items that we're requesting. Well, first of all, the main component of the AMI infrastructure is the smart meters. These smart meters basically allow us to communicate all the reads to our data center. And these meters and communication modules that we deploy around town to our customers. That's what we're referring to as inventory materials. Once we have the smart meters, these smart meters communicate with access points that we have around the city in poles. And this is what we call our network. And also is part of the ongoing services that we have with the vendor provider, which is ITRN. Once the data is collected by the access point, all the data and information from the meters is transferred to a data center. These last 2 items, the access point and the ITRN network, is what we are referring also as SaaS or software as a service fees. Once the data is there, then NBU, we pull the data, we bring it in-house, and we use it for different purposes. One of them is to provide to our customers access to their account and their usage online. And one of the other main things that we do is we generate the bills for our customers. Talking a little bit about how the project was implemented in the timeline. On May 2015, the NBU board awarded the contract to Annixter. That was after we went out for proposals, and Annixter was selected as the best option for NBU. During years 2016 and 2017, we started deploying meters to our customers. The original project was for change out for existing customers. But at the same time, we started to install meters for new customers. These meters for new customers were not part of the original scope of work. So on March 2018, NBU staff requested ratification of purchases for $2.6 million. And also, we requested an amendment for $1.7 million that was to finish the change out for our water customers, and the execution of a separate contract, 5-year contract for $7.2 million for new customers. In August 2019, NBU staff realizes that it was not executed and that the contract was not drafted. So today we are requesting the board to ratify previous purchases in the amount of $3.9 million, as well to authorize the execution of 2 contracts, one for SaaS and ongoing services, and the second one for inventory materials. I want to talk now a little bit about how we got the numbers, final numbers for the ratification, and then how we projected the needs for future purchases for the new contracts. As of today, we have made purchases from Annixter in the amount of $15,096,253.89. The original approval, or the initial approval by the NBU board, was for $8,528,820. We add the ratification from March 2018 on the amount of $2,633,824 with 24 cents. That leaves us with the difference. The difference is the $3,933,509 with 65 cents. This ratification will basically cover all the purchases as of March. And going forward, what we want to do is to start clean with new contracts. For that, we are projected purchases for a total of $6,058,032.97. These purchases basically are related to inventory materials for $2,503,712.08. Also, the second component is the SaaS fees and ongoing services for an amount of $3,554,320.89. I'm going to show how we got to those figures. After working on an analysis and identifying all the purchases, we found out that the purchase of inventory materials for change out and new customers were for $1,918,959 with 65 cents. Out of those purchases, $344,672 with 7 cents were for water change out. The remaining of the balance was related to new customers. It is important to note here that the $344,000 didn't exceed the amendment that was not executed, that was for $1.7 million. And also that the purchases for new customers on $1,574,287 with 58 cents did not exceed the approvals for the contract that was not drafted. For the SaaS fees, or the software as a service fees, we're requesting ratification for $2,014,550. These SaaS fees were not included in the ratification from 2018. Those were not considered for ratification. So the total ratification we're requesting, as we mentioned before, is $3,933,509 with 65 cents. For future purchases, well, we're requesting for inventory materials authorization to execute a 12-month contract. And during these 12 months, NBU will work to release a request for bids to select a new provider or identify potential vendors that could provide meters compatible with our network. For software and hardware, which includes the ongoing services and the SaaS fees, NBU staff is requesting authorization for a 60-month contract for SaaS and ongoing services. The projections, what we projected included electric meters for customers, for new customers, and also for change outs of older meters. And we also are requesting water communication modules for new customers and for $7,000 for a change out. Total amount, $2,503,712 with 8 cents. On the software and hardware on the network, we are requesting the authorization of a 60-month contract. We started considering 89,684 meters as initial count, which will include the change out of 7,000 meters in year one. And we projected a growth of 5.7%. We're aware that that's not going to happen. Nevertheless, these amounts are not to exceed, and we will only pay what we use. And with this, I want to open it for questions.
I would say, now that Carlos has gone through that, the items that we found through this and that we've shared with you in this item are items that I don't know that we would have been aware of had we not put the focus on contract review, on procurement, and also on how we're managing our software. So what you're seeing here are some of the outgrowths that have come, some of the fruits that have been born from the new focus that we put on these corners of our business. So that was a lot of information, and please like to hear any questions that you'd have about it.
I don't have any questions, but I would like you just to briefly comment on how this type of equipment and contracts help us save money.
You bet. So one of the ones that has been of interest of late is that it's this AMI system that allows us to have the customer side leak detection functionality, which is something that has saved, I don't have the stats right off the top of my head, but I know that we've shared that with you over the course of the time that we've had it. It saved our customers money. It has, over the long term, avoided future water purchases that we don't have to buy. And also, as we shared with you recently, it was awarded a statewide award in its category. So across all the entries in the state, the TCEQ selected it as the most deserving project of all. I believe it was under the water conservation heading. That's one of them. It also sets us up so that we can see time of use when folks are using electricity, when folks are using water. So when we're able to do those types of assessments of people's homes and businesses, we can see when they're using those utilities and when they're not. It puts us in a position so that as we look at our power supply and rate design in the future, we have the tools available to us so that we can go and to those types of changes if we're ever looking at time of use or that type of thing. One of the big things it's done for us in the way of labor savings is it allows us, and also safety, I want to point out as well, it allows us to do disconnects remotely. So if someone moves, changes residence, changes business, or if there's a non-payment, we don't have to send an employee to that home or that business and do that work. We can do it remotely from the office. So those are some of the key savings that we've had from the technology.
Thank you. That's for the benefit of anyone that might be listening to this.
Thank you for asking the question. I'll point out too that on the electric side of the business, it's becoming pretty common to see that electric utilities have changed out their meters to AMI, to smart meters. One other benefit I'd point out too is thermostats. You know, we have a rebate program which we've just currently suspended because of the pandemic, but with the thermostats, it allows customers to control their use and their energy use in their home as well. On what my point I was making earlier, let me get back, I got sidetracked myself there. On the water side of the business, we're ahead. There are not many utilities that have gone to AMI for their water system, and it's one of the biggest areas where we've seen benefits so far.
Thank you very much.
Ian, this is Judy. I have a question. I'm just curious about any feel for disruption on the supply chain going forward in this area?
That is a great question. Thank you for asking. David, I want to turn it over to you. I kind of see you halfway smiling. David is over our purchasing function, and he and the entire purchasing group are working very hard trying to understand what the impacts are. So David, if you could walk us through the meter issue, the water meter issue, because that's really the only one, the primary one we've seen so far.
Yeah. Ms. Hoffman, to answer your question is we have seen some impacts on the supply side chain, the supply chain side for the paired components for the water meter and the register. So we haven't noticed yet any issues getting the water meters themselves, which are the brass bodies for the water meters. It's the interpreter, which is the communication component that sits on top of the meter. That is what we have noticed a supply chain issue for. We had a order that we were hoping to get in early this month. When the outbreak first hit China, that's when we first noticed and were aware of a supply chain issue. It delayed the shipment that we were supposed to get till April. We are currently right now very aware of our current counsel on water meters and registers. We are actively pursuing backup situations in case we cannot get the smart registers that we need to keep the AMI network working. We're looking at having backup dummy registers, which are just the registers that don't have the communication capabilities that the AMI registers have. So we are looking right now to supplement our supply chain with those backup meters.
So I'll point out that with the attention that David and the purchasing team put on this, that moment that they discovered that the shipment was delayed, if I'm not mistaken, we only had a week of water meter inventory that we could put in place. And they've helped us and they've corrected us with that. We can put water meters in the ground. They won't have the AMI functionality like David is saying. It'll just be a register that shows numbers with no communication, but that's okay. That's okay. As long as we can put those new connections online, that's what we're shooting. When this crisis clears up, we'll go back and replace those registers with the AMI interpreters.
Thank you, David and Ian. Thank you.
Any more questions? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve item 3 on the list of action items.
I move we approve as requested.
I will second. This is Bob.
Okay, we got some background noise. Somebody could mute your phone or your computer. Let's see. We've got a first and second. All those in favor, just answer Ian's roll call, please. Say aye.
So, I'm sorry. Who did the motion in the second? I apologize.
I did not.
Okay, and Bob, you did the second? Okay,
correct.
so,
Yes.
all right, thanks. Dr. Hoffman?
Aye.
Mayor Castile?
Aye.
Mr. Harrell?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor have said aye. Do not appear to be any nays. So I'll declare the motion has passed to approve item 3 on the action items. Excuse my house phone. Okay, that takes us to item G, executive session. The Board of Trustees may recess into executive session for any purpose permitted by the Texas Open Meetings Act, including but not limited to 1, power supply resources, competitive matters, section 551.086 Texas Government Code. Item 2, consultation with attorney regarding matters protected by attorney-client privilege, real property, section 551.071 and 551.072 Texas Government Code. A, discussion regarding the lease, value, purchase, or disposition of real property for utility purposes. 3, consultation with attorney regarding pending or contemplated litigation and other matters protected by attorney-client privilege, section 551.071 Texas Government Code. A, discussion regarding a utility construction cost sharing agreement for the Copper Ridge subdivision among NBU, Sutherland Communities Sutherland Communities NB Land Properties Limited, and Sutherland Copper Ridge LLC. The Board of Trustees, upon reconvening an open session, will discuss and consider any actions, if necessary, regarding closed session item. So we have got an official time. I can't see it with this phone.
2:10.
2:10. Okay, it's 2:10. We will, I guess the process will be, we will sign off of this connection, go into executive session on another, and I'll let maybe Ian or Rocio describe the process there to any board member that's not familiar with it. We'll get off this connection, go to an executive session connection, and then upon discussion of or closing out of executive session, reconvene an open session back on this connection.
So what we'll do, if you're on this session, what we'll do is you click on, just close out of the window. So you'll click on that X in the top right. Then you'll go to your link for the executive session, select it. That'll open up the session window. When we're done there, we'll close that out and we'll come back into this same session here. We're going to keep this one open for the public, and we'll put up a slide showing them that we are in executive session and that we'll be back. So at this time, click on that X, close out, and hit the link for executive session.
Can anybody tell me who caller 9 is that's listed on the video call, the go-to meeting?
Unless they talk and announce themselves, no. When people connect online and then go to the phone, they get a code that they can put in, but otherwise people can just dial in and there's no way to know. Unless we ask them.
Okay, thank you.
We want to take roll call, Ian. Be sure we've got all our board members.
Yeah, thank you for that suggestion. I'll do that right now. Mayor Castile? Mr. Gray?
I'm here.
Dr. Hoffman?
Here.
Mr. Campos?
I'm here.
Mr. Harrell?
Yes, sir. We're here.
Mayor Castile? Don't see him.
Well, we'll give him a minute. He may have disconnected and reconnected. That's what I had to do.
Okay.
I did the same. He may have done a bathroom break too.
Not like we have snacks in the break room or anything that he could be ditched off in there.
That's right.
Dr. Pepper and M&M cookies.
Sounds good.
I'd like to thank everyone. This is the longest I've been awake in about 9 days.
How you feeling?
I just beat, tired, but I think I'm over the hump.
Good. Glad to hear
Patient
that.
number 5.
Ah. So you are getting better then.
Yeah, luckily I didn't have much of the lung stuff at all. Just fevers and headaches and fatigue.
All right, let's see. Is Mayor Castile on?
So we still have a quorum. I'm just going to point that out.
Yep.
Do whatever you need
Yep.
to.
All right.
Okay, it's 2:44. Since we don't have any action items to address at this point, then we'll call us back open at 2:44. And unless there's any other business to come before the board, we can adjourn unless anybody has any questions or whatnot. This is an unusual venue, so.
Thank you for that. Hey, if you don't mind, I know this isn't on the agenda, but I just want to thank IT, Tim Brown. I see you're on here. Thank you for what you're doing and your whole team. Rocio, thank you for what you've done to make this happen today. This, like a lot of things around here lately, has taken a lot of work to make this happen. So thank you all very much for doing this for us.
Thank you, folks, also.
Yes.
Yep.
I thought the meeting went very well. So well done.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your understanding and flexibility through all this.
You bet.
Okay.
All right.
Hearing no other business to come before the board, we stand adjourned.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a good evening.
Thank y'all.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And I am stopping the recording now. I will get a copy of this to Rocio shortly.